everyone. In this episode of the Property Show, we focus on an important order passed by Delhi RERA to help clean up the capital's real estate market. Now, by a recent order, Delhi RERA has mandated all builders to register their projects if the area on which the project is being developed exceeds 500 square meters, irrespective of the number of apartments being built on it. To set the context, there are only 34 real estate projects registered under Delhi RERA compared to almost 75,000 projects across India. And the reason is simple. Delhi is a unique market where we don't see residential high-rises. Most development or redevelopment, we can call it, is happening on plots of various sizes, and builders were escaping RERA registration if the plot size was less than 500 square meters or they were developing less than 8 apartments. We have with us Delhi RERA chairperson, Mr. Anand Kumar. Mr. Kumar, thank you very much for speaking to NDTV. Can you just take us through the reason behind passing this order, sir?
If you look at the development of real estate in Delhi, there are mainly high-rise buildings or the development of floors. Most of the people or the promoters who are making high-rise apartments, they come to RERA and register their projects. However, people or the promoters or the builders who are making floors on plot size of 500 and more, they are a little reluctant and they have not been coming forward to register their projects with us. We have received many complaints in this regard, and when we spoke to the builders and promoters, they said they were not clear about the provisions made under the RERD Act of 2016. They were not clear whether they need to be registered if their plot size is more than 500 square meters and they are also building more than 8 apartments. So here they thought that if the plot size is of more than 500 square meters, but they are building only 8 or apartments below the number of 8, they do not require registration. Whereas the fact is, if anybody is constructing any apartment for sale on the plot size of 500 square meters and more, they need to be registered with us. Similarly, if somebody is constructing more than 8 apartments on any size of plot, maybe 100 square meters, 200 square meters, 300 square meters, 400 square meters, it need not necessarily be only 500 square meters and more. The moment the number of apartments goes beyond 8, there is a requirement of registration with RERA. So we wanted to clarify this matter to various stakeholders, promoters, builders, developers, and also for the benefit of general public, and hence we brought out this notification.
Okay. But here's my question. So it's a wonderful step, but how will you ensure compliance?
The purpose of this public notice is to create awareness among the public, among various stakeholders, including the promoters, developers, builders, that what are the requirements for registration and what will happen if they don't register their projects with us. Now, unless we create awareness, people will not know whether there is a requirement of registration altogether. We would like to now have individual meetings under various organizations like CII with various stakeholders and tell them that what needs to be done. So basically, creation of awareness is going to be the key factor. This was the first step that when we issued a public notice for the benefit of the public that what kind of projects need to be registered with the NCT of Delhi. In the next step, we are going to create an awareness campaign, and we will be reaching general public through various media, through the social media particularly, then also from the electronic and other kinds of media, particularly radio, that what are the rights of public and under which projects they must invest and what guarantees and what surety the projects which are registered with RERA carry with them.
A much welcome order indeed. Thank you, Mr. Anand Kumar, for joining us. Let's get a little bit more into the significance of this order and whether this will bear results. We have with us Amit Goyal, CEO at India Sotheby's International Realty, and Sunil Tyagi, Senior Partner and Co-founder of ZS Law. Sunil, you are the lawyer, so I'm going to throw the first question at you. This order comes on the back of a actually similar order issued by Rajasthan Real Estate Regulatory Authority and Bihar RERA. So what was that clause which was being exploited or misused by builders to escape registration, and how has that changed?
So Manisha, when the Act came into force in May 2017, the Act provided, for registration of all the projects where completion certificate was not received. But at the same time, certain exemptions were granted. Out of these, there were exemptions which were mentioned as any project where the area does not exceed 500 square meter or the number of apartment does not exceed 8, then it doesn't require registration. After this clause, the question about the interpretation of the same has been coming up again and again, whether both the conditions should be met to be exempted from the registration under RERA, or if one of the condition is met, but not the other, then also you are exempted. So most of the authorities initially took a view that if you have a 500, your area does not exceed 500 or does not exceed 8 apartments. If you meet any one of the condition, then you are exempted. But slowly, because the more you exempt the project, the RERA review gets restricted. Therefore, the view was taken, if both the conditions are met, only then you are exempted. So if your apartment number is less than 500, but you have more than 8 apartments, then you require registration. This is what Bihar, Rajasthan, and Delhi have said. So either of the condition, if you meet, but not the other, then you require registration. Only Maharashtra Appellate Authority had taken a different view initially, but we have to wait how the higher courts, like High Court or Supreme Court, will take a view on this. But wider the net of the RERA, the beneficial it is to the consumers, no doubt.
So that's great for cleaning up of the real estate market. So Amit, my question is, were there many cases of builder frauds in Delhi? Because if I look at the size, which is 500 square meters, these are large plot sizes, and most of them would belong to the well-off family.
Absolutely, Manisha. That's true indeed. And a lot of times, these property owners and home buyers are elderly people, they are NRIs, there are women, even some widows we've seen, struggling with the delay in the execution of the projects or delivery of apartments or homes built by these builders. So stakes are very high. As you rightly said already, that there are only about 32, 33 projects registered in all of Delhi, whereas across India we see some 73,000 projects registered in the RERA. So the RERA purview needed to be enhanced, and I think this is a welcoming order. This is a great initiative by the Delhi RERA authority, and we anticipate the Delhi real estate ecosystem to be much more healthier, much more level playing field for all the developers, and even the good quality developers, the credible ones, are welcoming this initiative. They will have healthier competition and less number of players in the market who are very credible, who can execute the project. They have all the financial muscle, they have the credibility, they have the execution capabilities to execute the project that they are wanting to do.
Always. I mean, any kind of step which is proactive for the consumer benefit also leads to some amount of consolidation in the market. Sunil, so here's my question. So 500 square meters, big step, great step. However, if I look at the Delhi landscape, a lot of built environment is coming up on 300 square meters, 200 square meters plots. So do you think that, once this 500 square meters settles down in 5 to 6 months, maybe Delhi RERA should bring down the area of plots where registration is needed to about 300 square meters, do it step by step, but pretty much cover all of real estate in Delhi?
I completely agree, Manisha. Any project which is under construction or any villa or plot which is being built with an intent to sell to a buyer in future, that should be covered under RERA, irrespective of the size. But I understand initially it is 500, slowly it can be 400, 300, but ultimately it should be any area, irrespective of the size. If you're building it with an intent to sell it to a buyer and he has any complaint, he shouldn't be expected to go to the civil court and fight out the litigation for years. There is a special forum which is giving time-bound addressal of all the grievances, that should be covered under those. So my personal opinion is it should be irrespective of the size of the area.
Hopefully, we will see that day soon. Let's come to the other stakeholder in this ecosystem, which is the agents or the brokers who sell. Now, Amit, the Act mandates that the agents who sell RERA registered projects also need to register themselves with RERA. But you know, I'm just wondering, why is that? Because if you're a stockbroker, you have to register under SEBI. If you're an insurance agent, you have to be licensed to be an insurance agent. Why do we allow the broking community to, if they're not selling a RERA registered project, to escape RERA registration?
That's such a great point, Manisha, that you pick up, and I completely agree with you. And in the global scheme of things, all the developed markets, all the international markets, you know, agents are required to be registered irrespective of whether they're selling RERA registered projects or not. You see, the point is they must have some license or certification for them to be, you know, conducting this business and advising clients on what to buy, where to buy, what price points, and structuring the transaction, you know, taking care of all the documentation, the agreements, and the MOUs. So it will bring in a lot more transparency, which is really need of the hour.
Sunil, you've been observing this market for the longest time. What more can be done to make Delhi's real estate market healthier?
So the more and more projects we cover under RERA, and the more the authority becomes more proactive and more information is spread to the buyers, there'll be more use by the buyers or allottees of such provisions, and it will be beneficial. So as of now, I see probably there are not many projects which are registered, and I don't think there are too much of details about them are also available on the website or being updated about the progress of the project. So once all the provisions are fully complied and actually used for under the RERA, it will be very beneficial to all the stakeholders, not only the buyers, I personally feel.
Amit, it's great to come out with an order, but it's all execution at the end of it, isn't it? That's how the market gets cleaned. Do you have faith after this order that Delhi RERA will probably be able to engage with the consumer, spread that awareness, and also pass quick orders as and when anything is brought to its notice in terms of a default or a non-registration of a project?
I would agree with you. I think we have a long way to go. Order is one perspective or one step in the right direction. At the same time, you know, the enforcement bit is really critical. The way, you know, this ecosystem has been over the last so many years or decades, where there have been delays. We see, you know, numerous public notices appearing in newspapers where clients are cancelling their general power of attorney given to builders and their teams. They're cancelling the redevelopment agreements, collaboration agreements, agreement to sell when a buyer is got into a transaction and not really, you know, seeing the completion of the project or getting the delivery on time or the project quality as per what was promised in the brochures which were, you know, shared by the builders. All in all, I think more awareness needs to be created by RERA authorities. They need to come out with more campaigns where buyer is aware about his rights, about the project registration. More information should be there on the RERA website. You know, the model agreement to sell draft should be enforced. I think that is something which is again very, very critical from the RERA perspective and enforcement, where home buyers can be protected.
Sunil Tyagi and Amit Goyal, thank you very much for joining us today. And of course, we do know that the matter is pending in front of Mahua, where it has asked all the states to tell or submit its report to the Supreme Court in terms of any discrepancy in the model builder-buyer agreement or agreement to sale. These are interchangeable words that are used in the industry. Thank you very much for joining us. When we return, we bring you face to face with an entrepreneur who's making agri-bio panels from sugarcane and other crop farm waste. Now, which are not only more sustainable, less toxic, but also help prevent stubble burning and air pollution. This story of an eco-warrior is a must-watch, so stay with us.